So the next data structure that we would need to consider is multi-dimensional arrays. Now we've already considered a single dimensional array, but it might not have been called that. So a single list or an array, which is basically a variable that holds more than one information or one data, is an array like so. Yeah, so you can think about this particular list. Maybe it's called scores. So we could say scores equals 2 and then a square bracket, and then we could put a list of items into it. Now we can also have a multi-dimensional array. So that means that we want to be able to have rows and columns of information. So you can imagine, let's say a student took a test and we want to be able to store that student's test, but maybe they can take more than one test and get more than one result. So for example here, we'll look at the rows and columns to be able to determine what the scores for that particular student is. So imagine here, student 1 had a score of 45 and a score of 32 after they took the test again. Those two results can be stored into a two-dimensional array like such. And the way in which we would refer to that is we'll look at the columns going down, and then we'll look at the row. So, and we will supply the number corresponding to that to identify each element in the 2D array. So I'll just go over that again. So in this case, if we got 0, 0, so let me just get a pen perhaps from here, just allow me to. There you go. So assuming I have assuming I had an array called student data, or let's just call it student. Sorry about my poor writing skills on a trackpad. It's probably not the easiest thing to write with, but I'll try. Okay, so we got here student, and because it's a list, it's going to have a square bracket here opening. And so what we would supply it with is we will supply it with the two parameters. 0, or if you remember my last lesson, I should really say arguments in this case, but the programmers often use that interchangeably. So we supplied it with those two arguments here, and what you would notice then is that this should identify 45. Now why do we say that? If you remember that arrays are 0 indexed, so that means we're going along the columns. So this is column numbers. In fact, what I could have done here is, let's get a different color pen. Okay, come on. Pen colors there. So let's say we're going to make this blue. So here, this would be index 0 for this column. Let's go down the middle of this, and this will be index 1. Okay, and along the rows, this will be 0, this will be 1, and this will be 2. Okay, so just think about it like that. So if I just rule lines across it as well, just to make it clear what we're looking at here. So effectively then, to identify this particular element, it's 0, and 0 gives us the coordinates for that. If we want to identify this particular element, again, we're looking at the columns first. So it's in column number 0, yeah, and then row 1. Okay, so that will be 32 there. And then in the other one, 12, we're looking at 1, and then 0 along here. So in fact, let me just, this is wrong. So this should say a row. We look at the row first, and then we look at the column afterwards. So apologies for that. It's good that I was doing this live so I can see your understanding of it. So just change that to column if you're making a note of that. Okay, so we look along the row. So this one here again is row 0, column 0. To get 32, it's row 0, column 1. Yeah, row 0, column 1. To get the 12, it's row 1, column 0. To get the 33, it will be row 1, column 1. To get the 36, it will be row 2, column 0. And to get the 25, it will be row 2, column 1. Yeah. So hopefully that makes it clear how you would pick out data from such a list. All right. So a two-dimensional array is such that you will get the data by providing it with a coordinate. Effectively, we give it two arguments to find out the column and the row. Okay.